welcome to the Procurement Signal, the show that tunes into the future of procurement. In every episode, we dive straight into how modern teams are transforming supplier relationships, elevating vendor management, tackling supplier risk, and driving real sustainability impact. If you're ready to rewire procurement from a back-office function to a strategic powerhouse, you're in the right place. This is your signal. Amplify what procurement can be.
This episode's topic is one that every procurement leader has wrestled with at some point: roles, responsibilities, and the chaos that happens when they blur. Because, let's be honest, many procurement teams today look like a game of musical chairs. Category managers doing sourcing, sourcing managers doing vendor management, vendor managers dabbling in risk, and supplier risk managers, well, often being brought in way too late. So today, we're going to break down 5 core roles in a modern procurement function: category manager, procurement manager, sourcing manager, supplier risk manager, vendor manager, and more importantly, we'll talk about what each role should do and why so many teams end up tangled in overlap and inefficiency. Let's get into it. First up, category manager, the strategist. If procurement were a chessboard, the category manager is the one thinking 5 moves ahead. Their core purpose: to develop and execute long-term category strategies that align with business goals. What makes them unique? They own the category vision. They analyze markets, trends, and demand. They shape multi-year roadmaps. They influence stakeholders at a strategic level. Think of them as the architect. They design the blueprint for how the organization should buy, partner, and invest across a category. This is what category managers should do. However, things go wrong when category managers often get dragged into tactical sourcing events, contract administration, or supplier firefighting. Suddenly, the strategist becomes the doer, and the long-term roadmap gets pushed aside. Next, we have procurement manager, the orchestrator. The procurement manager is the conductor of the orchestra. Their core purpose: to ensure the procurement function runs smoothly, governance, process, performance, and team alignment. What makes them unique is their ability to oversee the full procurement lifecycle. They manage policies, compliance, and frameworks. They coordinate across roles. They ensure procurement delivers measurable value. They're not deep in one category or one supplier. They're ensuring the whole machine works. Where things go wrong with procurement managers is they often become chief escalations officers, pulled into every issue because roles aren't clearly defined. Instead of orchestrating, they end up firefighting. Let's move on to the sourcing manager, the deal maker. The sourcing manager is the tactical engine of procurement. Their core purpose: to run sourcing events that deliver commercial outcomes, RFPs, negotiations, supplier selection. What makes them unique is they execute competitive events. They negotiate pricing and terms. They evaluate supplier proposals. They drive short-term commercial wins. If the category manager is the architect, the sourcing manager is the builder, turning strategy into executed deals. In many organizations, things go wrong when sourcing managers are under-resourced, so category managers step in to run RFPs. This creates confusion, duplicated work, and inconsistent processes. Next, let's talk about the supplier risk manager, the guardian. This role is not a traditional procurement role, but organizations are increasingly seeking the expertise of dedicated supplier risk managers or third-party risk managers. Their core purpose: to implement an enterprise-wide third-party risk management framework to mitigate supplier-related risks in all areas such as financial, operational, cyber, ESG, and geopolitical. What makes them unique is they support frontline supplier-facing teams such as category and sourcing management. They monitor supplier health. They ensure controls and mitigations. They protect the business from disruption. They're the ones asking, what could go wrong and how do we prevent it? Sadly, supplier risk managers are often brought in after a supplier is selected, when the contract is drafted, or worse, when something breaks. Instead of being proactive, they become reactive auditors. Finally, we have vendor manager, the relationship builder. The vendor manager is the steward of ongoing supplier performance. Their core purpose: to manage the relationship after the contract is signed, performance, value, innovation, and continuous improvement. What makes them unique? They run QBRs and performance reviews. They track SLAs, KPIs, and service health. They drive supplier development. They unlock innovation and value beyond the contract. They're the ones ensuring the supplier actually delivers what was promised. Unfortunately, vendor managers often inherit suppliers with no clear strategy, no performance framework, and no handover from sourcing. They're expected to manage without the tools or context. Where it all falls apart is at the blurring of roles. Modern procurement teams face 3 big problems. Number 1. Under-resourcing leads to role creep. Category managers run sourcing events. Sourcing managers handle vendor issues. Vendor managers get pulled into risk assessments. Everyone becomes a generalist by necessity, not design. Number 2. Lack of clear operating models. Without a defined RACI, people fill gaps reactively. This leads to duplicated work, inconsistent processes, and unclear accountability. Number 3. Stakeholders don't understand the differences. To many business units, procurement is one big bucket. So they go to whoever they know, regardless of role. And procurement teams, eager to help, say yes. But why does all of this matter? Because when roles blur, strategy gets sacrificed for urgency. Sourcing becomes inconsistent. Supplier risk becomes an afterthought. Vendor management becomes administrative. Procurement loses credibility and influence. But when roles are clear and respected, category managers think long-term. Sourcing managers deliver commercial wins. Risk managers protect the business. Vendor managers drive performance. Procurement managers elevate the whole function. That's when procurement becomes a strategic engine, not an administrative service. That's it for today's episode of The Procurement Signal. If your team is struggling with blurred roles, overlapping responsibilities, or unclear ownership, you're not alone. This is one of the biggest challenges in modern procurement and one of the biggest opportunities for transformation. Thanks for tuning in to The Procurement Signal. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a colleague or, even better, your leader. They'll thank you later. And that's what The Procurement Signal is here to do. Amplify the real value of procurement and help teams everywhere step into their strategic power. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, share it with your team, and join us next time on another transformative procurement topic. Click on the link in the podcast notes or comment section to get your free PDF for this episode. Stay curious and keep tuning into the signal.